How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the channel. It's time for the Monday breakdown. These Mondays are getting a little bit easier these days now that Celtic are finally top of the table and battering teams for the laugh. Let's get into the Monday breakdown. So in this video, I'm going to be looking back at Celtic's 4-0 win against Motherwell. I'm going to look at the competition in the team right now, and I'm going to talk about Tom Rodgick's comments after the game as well. Before I get into the actual analysis of the video, if you do like this video and you're not subscribed to the channel, please do hit the subscribe button below, like the video so more people can see them, and leave a comment as well. Let me know what you think of all the videos and of the match as well. So let's get into the 4-0 win against Motherwell. Obviously, this was a fantastic win for Celtic once again. The momentum is still building, continuing to build, and Celtic just seem to be getting better and better and better every time we watch them. So I'm going to talk about the competition in the team. I'm going to talk about Tom Rodgick's comments after the game. But first, let's get into the actual game itself. Again, brilliant performance from Celtic, but what do the stats say about this game? So this is Wyscout data. Celtic had an XG of 2.7 for a 4-0 win. That's pretty decent. Shots on target, 18 shots, 10 on target, and 15 of those shots came from the penalty area. So 15 out of 18 shots coming from inside the box. That is positive movement from Celtic, getting those chances inside the box where you're more likely to get a goal. One of the more interesting stats from this game is from Wyscout as well, and it shows you the danger level from the flanks. Where did the attacks come from? Where did Celtic's most creative players come from? Where did the momentum come from? So for Celtic, down the right hand side, they had an XG of 1.23, 45%. That's not surprising, given Abada's goal and 2 assists. Down the middle, they had an XG of 0.65, 24%, and down the left hand side, 0.82, 31% of Celtic's attacks. So not all that surprising, given that Maeda scored, so that's counting for the left hand side. Then Abada's goal and 2 assists as well, counting for the right hand side. And obviously you've got a couple of players in the middle as well that's done really well, with Tom Rodgick getting 2 of the goals as well. So I found that really interesting, because if you look at the right hand side, that's where Celtic seem to be strongest, be that in the Old Firm game against Rangers, where Juranovic was mixing it up really well with Abada down the right hand side, and most of the good attacks seem to be coming down that side. I know Jota didn't have his best game. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't as good as the right hand side, and it seems like right hand side seems to be the dominant side for Celtic at the minute. And then what's interesting is that if you look at Motherwell's attack, they didn't have much. Granted, if you look at their entire game, 17 of their attacks came from the left hand side, so they're also attacking that right hand flank of Celtic. As Celtic try and move forward and progress the ball and attack more, they are left a little bit vulnerable down that right hand side. So that is just one thing to keep an eye on. While it's brilliant that Celtic are doing well down that right hand side, they need to just be careful that they don't get done on the counter attack. Now, a couple of changes made in this game by Ange Postecoglou. Ralston comes in at right wing, Tom Rodgick comes back into the midfield, and Maeda moves out to the left wing, with Giakoumakis playing up front down the middle. So the competition in the team is absolutely phenomenal right now. Ralston had a really good game, brilliant pass down the wing to Abada, who crossed it into the box for a goal, and you're just thinking, that's what Juranovic was doing as well on Wednesday night. It seems to be seamless now that Celtic have the players in each position where they can just take players out and it doesn't weaken the team all that much. Ralston stepped up to the plate, and would have been hard for him to do that, given the fact that he has fallen out of favour. He hasn't been in the team for a while, and that he is definitely a number 2 to Juranovic now, but he stepped up. He's shown that he wants to be in the first team, and that is a good sign for Celtic, as well as Tom Rodgick coming back in, flying form from his international duty. Again, that competition with Matt O'Reilly. Matt O'Reilly had a couple of brilliant games. Tom Rodgick comes in, scores 2 brilliant goals, and is the man of the match for the game. And you're thinking, right, there's 2 brilliant players we can play on the right hand side of that midfield 3. Hatate comes into the midfield. Is David Turnbull going to get back in? I don't think he is. And you're just thinking, this is what Celtic need. This is the competition that Celtic have been crying out for. The lack of depth that held Celtic back for so much of the first half of the season is now gone. We cannot complain about that. And suddenly Celtic are really exciting, because if you take these games, it's game after game after game, Wednesday, Saturday, Thursday, Sunday. These are the moments in the season that are so vitally important to have depth, and Celtic finally have that. If you take the Aberdeen game now on Wednesday night, you can start Juranovic, you can start Matt O'Reilly if you want. You can make these changes and you think Celtic are still going to get the win. The Wraith Rovers game at the weekend, you can make a couple of changes so that Celtic have enough legs when it comes to the European fixture next week. And that is vitally important. And this is what Ange has built. And this is why it's important to have depth within the team, not just in case there's injuries. Injuries will happen regardless of whether you have depth. It's for that competition. It's for the likes of Juranovic not to get complacent that his place is just safe no matter what kind of performance he puts in. Ralston is beating down his door to try to get that first right back position. So that is going to drive Juranovic on. Likewise with Tom Rogic, who has been vitally important for Celtic in the first half of the season. He was irreplaceable for Celtic. Now suddenly he's not. Matt O'Reilly is there, and Matt O'Reilly wants to start. You can see that with the performance he came in, and I think he had 3 key passes in the short period that he was there. He is going to be fighting for Tom Rogic's place, and that's going to push Tom Rogic on even more. And these are the things that you need to win titles. And when you're top of the table, that's what you need. You need competition for places. And I think Celtic finally have that. And it's just so relieving to finally see a Celtic side with depth that can make changes without completely destroying the structure of the team and the structure of the game plan as well. So that was the biggest positive that I will take from the 4-0 win against Motherwell. After the game, Tom Rogic was speaking to the media, and he was asked about being top of the table and whether or not the players were able to deal with the pressure of that, and he had a brilliant response.
As a team, you've had to have the challenge of chasing down Rangers so far this season. How different a prospect is it now? You're top of the pile and they're chasing you.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been top of the pile for the last decade. Obviously, off the back of last season, it was disappointing, but it's a familiar position for a lot of us, and just about keep working hard, head down, focus on the next game, don't get too carried away with it.
That was Tom Rogic after the game. It's not too often we actually see him talking, and I want to see more of him. That was a ballsy thing that he said, but it's true. It is true what Tom Rogic said. Celtic are top of the table, and they have been top of the table for 9 out of 10 seasons in the last decade. And this is an interesting question that is sort of raises now, is how will this Rangers team deal with chasing Celtic? Because Rangers were top of the table last year, and they were top of the table for the entire year. Celtic put no challenge in. There was no pressure on them. They were, 20 odd points ahead come February, and there was no real pressure on them to maintain any sort of form, and nobody rattled them. Now Celtic have come in, they've put pressure on them, they've come from behind, and now Celtic are top of the table. So firstly, if Celtic drop points and Rangers take the lead again, Celtic know that if they maintain their form, if they do well, they can chase this Rangers team. They know how to beat them. They know how to get past them. They've done it already this season. So if Celtic do fall behind Rangers again, Celtic will have that in their locker, that they know that they can chase them. But do this Rangers side have that in their locker? That's the question now. Do they have what it takes to be the chasing pack? Can they put pressure on Celtic, who know how to close out leagues from this point on? So I thought it was a really interesting point. It was a quip from Tom Rogic, but it's true. Can Rangers catch Celtic now when they're the chasing team, as opposed to Celtic being the chasing team? Because I know from the results and from the performances that we've seen, and all of the data that we've highlighted on the Huddle breakdown and other analytical sources have done as well, Celtic have been on a non-stop upward trajectory all season, and Rangers have not. Celtic have gotten some luck along the way, but they've also got some bad luck as well, with injuries and with players out when they needed them most. Now suddenly Celtic have all their players. Now Celtic have suddenly come together as a group. They've got the momentum within the fixtures, within their results, within their performances. They've got the confidence. They battered Rangers in the derby as well. Everything is stacked firmly in favour of Celtic now to win this league. And it's for Rangers to catch them as opposed to Celtic to try to dominate the league. And I do believe, for the first time this year, since the derby, it's the first time that I've thought Celtic can go on to win the league. And that makes me massively positive for what's to come under Ange Postecoglou, because This is just the start. This is just the start, and Celtic do not stop. We saw that video from Ange at the start of the season. Celtic do not stop until everything is won, and let's hope everything is won by the end of the season. That's the Monday breakdown. Like I said, they're getting easier every Monday. They're getting easier every single week. Thanks for watching, folks. If you like this video, you're not subscribed to the channel, do hit the subscribe button below. Like the video so more people can see them. Leave a comment as well. Let me know what your thoughts on the game at the weekend and the games to come this week as well. We'll chat to you later.